All right, diving in today, getting our hands a little dirty.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
It is. We're checking out ornamental metalwork. Yeah, using RoleCatcher to guide us.
They're great for this kind of deep dive.
The best. They even have, like, interview prep stuff once you're ready. But first things first, think about like a really intricate railing on a building.
Oh, yeah, the kind that just makes you stop and stare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or a gate that just makes a statement. That's the handiwork of an ornamental metalworker. Today, we're going to figure out how they do it.
You know, it's funny how we just kind of take that stuff for granted, right? Like, we see a beautiful piece of metalwork, but we don't always think about the skill involved. It's not just welding either. They use these techniques, some of them ancient, like repoussé. Have you heard of that one?
Repoussé. Rings a bell.
So basically, you're hammering the metal from the back to make a raised design on the front crazy precise.
Oh, that sounds intense.
And then chasing, that's where you refine it all from the front.
Ah, okay, so it's like shaping it from both sides.
Exactly. Creating those really crisp details. You see it a lot in jewelry.
Oh, right, those really ornate silver pieces.
Yeah, it's not just for looks either. Repoussé actually makes the metal stronger.
So it's functional too.
Totally. Ancient armor, even modern sculpture, it's wild.
So there's clearly a deep understanding of metal here. Like, it's a science as much as an art.
Oh, absolutely.
RoleCatcher was really big on that, knowing your metal properties.
You kind of have to, right? You can't treat steel the same way you would copper.
That makes sense.
Each metal has its own personality, you know? Steel, now that's your workhorse. Super strong, great for big structures, things that need to last.
Right, it's got that, like, industrial strength vibe.
Yeah, but it can be a pain to shape, let me tell you.
So each metal, it's like its own creative puzzle.
That's a great way to put it. Copper, for instance, way more malleable. You can get super intricate with it. Perfect for those flowing organic designs.
But not as tough as steel, I'm guessing.
Exactly. Trade-offs, right. Hence the whole knowing your metals thing.
Makes total sense. Now, RoleCatcher also mentioned fabrication. What's that look like in this world? Ornamental metalwork.
Good one. It's basically building from scratch.
So like a custom gate.
That's it. Or a sculpture, anything unique and functional.
Okay, we're talking serious craftsmanship. And the work environment? RoleCatcher did not hold back. Think metal shop, machinery, hammering, the works.
It's a busy place, lots of energy.
Blueprints, problem solving on the fly. You got to be on your game.
Oh, for sure. Stamina and focus, that's the name of the game.
So we've seen the what, but how do you actually become an ornamental metalworker?
Yeah, it's not exactly a common career path.
Right, like not something you just decide to do one morning.
It takes dedication, that's for sure.
RoleCatcher breaks it down into stages, which I kind of like.
Stages.
Yeah, they call them entry-level, junior, skilled, and senior.
Makes sense.
So entry-level, that's your apprenticeship phase, right?
Pretty much learning the basics from the pros.
Getting those foundational skills down?
Exactly. Starting with the simpler stuff before moving on to, like, you know, repoussé.
Right, got to master the basics first. And then once you've got that down, you move up to junior level.
Exactly. More responsibility, starting to use the machinery.
Collaborating on bigger projects.
And really getting into the weeds with blueprints.
Oh yeah, RoleCatcher mentioned those. It's not just about the hands-on stuff.
Definitely not. You got to have a good head for design.
And this is also where specializing comes in, right?
It is. You might find yourself drawn to a particular type of work.
RoleCatcher gave some cool examples, like custom fabrication.
Oh yeah, now that's exciting. You're basically creating something from scratch.
The ultimate maker's dream.
Totally. Or you might be into restoration, which is a whole other ball game.
Restoring old metalwork.
Exactly. Bringing those pieces back to life.
That must be so satisfying.
It is, especially when you're working on something historic, you know?
And then, as you get even better, you hit skilled level.
That's when you're really in the zone.
More autonomy, probably mentoring newer folks.
Yeah, and working more directly with clients, architects, that kind of thing.
It's a whole other skill set, communication and all that.
It is. You're not just a craftsperson anymore. You're a consultant.
That's what's so cool about this. It's both artistic and technical. But RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat it. They're honest about the downsides, too.
Right. It's not all glamorous metal and cool designs.
They mentioned the physical demands, working outdoors sometimes.
It can be tough, yeah. And the income isn't always consistent.
That makes sense, freelance work and all.
And then there's the precision required. It's intense.
One little slip-up could mess up the whole thing.
Exactly. RoleCatcher mentioned repointing. That's a good example.
Repointing? That's a new one on me.
It's a specialized restoration technique, mostly for older pieces.
Okay, walk me through it.
So imagine an old wrought iron fence, right?
Got it.
Over time, the mortar holding it together starts to crumble.
Makes sense. Exposure to the elements and all that.
So you have to carefully remove the old mortar and replace it with new stuff.
Sounds painstaking.
It is super detail-oriented, but when it's done right, it's like magic.
The fence is good as new, structurally sound.
Exactly. It's like giving it a second life.
So, phew, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We really have. It's a whole world, ornamental metalwork.
It is. And RoleCatcher, gotta hand it to them. They really break it down.
They do. All those details really makes you think.
Right. Like after all this, what's your gut feeling?
That's a good question.
This whole career path, does it speak to you at all?
It definitely takes a certain kind of person, that's for sure.
Someone who likes to work with their hands, clearly.
Yeah, but also that creative spark, turning raw metal into art.
Right, and not afraid of a challenge. RoleCatcher did not shy away from that.
Not at all. But they also highlighted the rewards, which is important.
Absolutely, that sense of accomplishment, seeing your work out in the world.
And one thing that really resonated with me, they talked about staying current.
Oh, right. Keeping up with the industry, new techniques, all that.
Exactly. Like, technology is changing so fast these days.
Even in a field like this, which you might think is pretty traditional.
You'd be surprised. RoleCatcher mentioned things like laser cutting.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
3D modeling, too, right?
It's wild. These tools are like opening up whole new possibilities.
So you gotta stay curious, keep learning.
Absolutely. Workshops, professional groups, all of that.
It's like the best of both worlds, then, the old and the new.
Exactly. Traditional craftsmanship meets cutting-edge tech.
Love that. Well, RoleCatcher gave us the blueprint, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now it's about picturing yourself in this world. If you were an ornamental metal worker, what would you create?
Ooh, good question.
Something grand, like a historic restoration.
That would be incredible.
Or maybe something totally modern, sleek, minimalist.
That's the beauty of it. So many options.
Exactly. Well, on that note, huge thanks to RoleCatcher for all the insights. And to you, our listeners, thanks for joining us on this metalworking adventure. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into a fascinating career path.